Here we are.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, please explain to us what a county commissioner is.
Are we starting?
I think we could probably start with an introduction. This is Kayla Mantle, local Wheatlandite, who was recently elected county commissioner in a not-so-tight race, as it turned out. Even though I was kind of surprised by that. Like, you got like 1,380-some votes.
1,500 something.
1,500?
Yeah.
Okay, and she got like 1,000?
Yeah, 1,100 maybe. It's like 400.
That's pretty good
different.
voter turnout.
Yeah. Oh, that's the best voter turnout Platte County's seen in a long time.
That's crazy.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
Because it's presidential election year.
That's a good point.
It's 2020.
Yeah, it's 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, your numbers were like identical to the race for the House seat too.
Yeah.
It was weird. Do you think those votes were somehow correlated?
Yeah. Jeremy and I both won.
Like 57.
Yeah, 57.
I think it was 57,
40
yeah.
something. Yeah. And I definitely think that shows probably the demographics that voted.
Yeah.
All wanted change.
You got, yeah. And
You know?
you guys also campaigned the hardest as far as putting your name out there.
Right.
Because, I mean, I think some people that go vote in elections choose the name that they recognize more.
Yeah.
Because it's not like people are really following the issues of the two candidates that closely in a place like Platte County where there's not a bunch of access to be able to see those debates that you guys had and stuff like that, unless
Right.
you went or watched it on Facebook or whatever. But it's not like that's popping up on CNN or
Right.
Fox News or anything like that. So,
yeah, name recognition. When you're trying to be an incumbent, somebody who's already in office, it's really tough to do. And countywide, that happened, and statewide, it happened quite a bit in a lot of the other races around the state as well. So I think that just shows that the state as a whole is ready for a change.
sure. So you're saying as far as incumbents beating, are incumbents losing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't follow any other elections, but yeah, a lot of people were really surprised about the House seat because he was, what, 12 years or something like that?
I think that he has been in, don't quote me, but I want to say he's been in there 8
years.
Who are we talking about?
Kirkbride.
Did he lose?
He lost.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost. The vote margin was the exact same. It was like 57,
The percentage
42.
was the same.
I kept up with the races, obviously, because Cindy spoke on behalf, and did like a testimonial for him. So, like, I was familiar with who was running in different areas. I just haven't seen the results other than you.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to me because, yeah, he's been, a staple for quite a while around here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jeremy and I beat Sandy and Dan by the same, like almost the exact same percentage.
Yeah, it was like down to, when I looked, like 2 votes
Yeah.
that were different.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty dang close. Jeremy has a little bit of Converse County as well. So Douglas makes up a little bit more. So, but I think it was still like 1,500 to 1,100.
I know a lot of people from Wheatland are scared to run against the Senate seat because Douglas obviously has way more people, and we always elect a Douglas person for that seat.
Right.
It's like Wheatland doesn't really stand a chance.
Yeah, Douglas definitely has a bigger voting percentage on that than Platte County does, and it's a seat that you would think more people would want because it's a 4-year term, not a 2-year term, and so you don't have to run as often and campaign as often. And but Brian Boner has been in there.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy. I think I've met him a few times.
Yeah, and
he's not very old either. He's like your age, right?
He's a little older than me. I think he's like 36.
Okay.
And they've got a pretty big name in Commerce County.
Sure.
To say the least.
Yeah.
That seems like a tough, if you were from Wheatland and trying to run for that position, it seems like that's quite a different, 2 different areas. You know what I mean? Like the economies are much different.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously the values are similar, but the demographics are a lot different too. Just the different types of people.
Yeah. The jobs they hold.
Definitely.
What they do.
Well, and I think it's hard to, to not be involved in politics at all, and then all of a sudden jump up to
Mhm.
being in the House or Senate. I mean, I
Right.
know Jeremy hasn't held
It's
a
a reach.
position before, and now he's going to be in the House. So that's a big step. And even if somebody here ran for the Senate seat, there's
They'd be in
not
that
a lot.
same boat,
Yeah, they'd be in the
yeah.
same boat. They'd be
Mhm.
new, which is, I mean, I think new ideas, new fresh ideas. That's
Yeah,
great,
absolutely.
But it's definitely it's a big step. You got to be
Mhm.
ready
Yeah.
for it, and it really is. The House and the Senate. That's pretty much full-time jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah, nonstop.
yeah. So, how's the horse business?
A little slow this
Is it?
year. Yeah, we usually go to CFD. That's usually
Right.
one of our biggest events, and or is our single biggest event. We usually adopt like 20 to 22 head there, and without CFD this year, things looked a little bit different.
So, what do? Are you just selling kind of more privately instead of having?
Yeah,
Because I mean, that's like the biggest week of the
Oh,
year
yeah.
for you, isn't it?
yeah.
It seems.
2
I mean,
weeks.
the most exciting week. it seems
Yeah,
like.
it's definitely the busiest and most hectic. This year, people ask me a lot, like, "Well, what did you do? What did you do?" But during that time, the BLM was actually shut down too, for COVID and stuff, and so we weren't actually. We could do some online adoptions and stuff, but they didn't have any health plans yet where we could do in-person adoptions or things like that. It's getting slowly better, but Wyoming has to get the approval through Washington, D.C. and all of that. And so it's just taken more time. We did do state fair. We took a couple horses there. State fair even looked a little different for us this
Yeah.
year. We didn't have to go the whole time, but
How was the turnout there? You would think there'd be a lot more than normal, considering Frontier Days.
People
Got
itching to
shut
get
down.
out there,
right.
and do something.
A lot of the vendors and stuff didn't come. And so there really wasn't a huge attraction for people there. I mean, the turnout was good. There was a decent amount of people. The last several years have been going down. So it's kind of, well, did COVID affect it, or is State Fair just one of those dying things we need to bring back, It's
Yeah.
kind of a tough go. But, they've done some other things. They've had in Cheyenne, like the Hell on Wheels Rodeo. Tomorrow's the last of that series. It was a 3-weekend series, and they've sold out. They could only sell 250 tickets at that time, but they've sold out every time and packed it. So across the state, people are figuring it out. It's just
They're doing rodeos out in the pasture and in the middle of nowhere in between here and Laramie.
right. Bosler, Wyoming.
Yeah, Tom Horn days.
So you guys raise wild horses out there, and you were working for the state before, right?
I worked for the United States Department of Agriculture, so that's federal. I was a
Oh.
federal employee before.
Ooh.
Are you not doing that anymore?
No, in February, I got an opportunity to work for a company out of Cheyenne, and I work from home.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm the financial manager / office manager for 2 companies, Wyoming Business Alliance and Wyoming Heritage Foundation. And I do all the books and office work and stuff, but I do it from home now, which is nice.
Goes to show you that, probably a lot of things could have been done from home before now.
Yeah.
So you're raising 2 kids,
Yep.
doing the whole wild horse thing, as well as this job you're talking about from home. And you just won the election for county commissioner. So
Yes.
how does one even manage that much stuff going on? Because that just gives me anxiety.
Yeah, it's busy nonstop.
Mhm.
I have a lot of calendars, a
Yeah.
lot of notes.
That's good.
But no, it's great. I don't work the horses. That's my husband's family's deal. Things like that. I do a lot of our paperwork and the behind the scenes financial portion of that. But it's been great. My mom retired last year, a year and a half ago, I guess now.
Quite the going out party as well, I will say.
Yes, absolutely. What a great time.
Yeah, that was fun.
So yeah, 32 years of school teaching. My 3 and 4-year-old now are with her full time during the day, so that I work.
Getting a
So they
full-time
love
education.
Yeah, they love that,
And she
and
probably
I
loves
love
that,
it
too.
because they're learning lots, and she loves it. Keeps her busy, and so yeah, our schedule is nice that I can just take them over there.
And how convenient that she was a teacher.
I know,
mean,
especially
that's
now that
perfect.
COVID hit,
Yeah, couldn't
and
have
so
gotten
many
out at a
schools
better
aren't.
time.
Yeah.
And she was a great teacher, I will say.
Yeah.
Oh well, she'll appreciate that. So yeah, that it's been busy. We also just started another company.
Really?
We did.
The
Brewing
prairie dog one,
the
yep.
Prairie dog, brewing
Oh,
rodent
that's
control.
right.
Nick
I
was
remember him
talking about
about that.
Yeah, he's been wanting to start it up for like 10 years, and I was kind of it's not the right time, it's not the right time, it's not the right time, and pretty soon I saw an invoice in our email. So guess we started that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's been good. We got 3 clients right away. He spent 16 days on one place killing gophers, and then he spent a day apiece at these 2 other places, and we've had nothing but great turnout, and everybody says that it works. So yay for
He
that.
knew it would work.
Yeah, he had researched it a really long
Yeah.
time. It was probably time. But, the investment of it is always kind of scary for me, the finance person that I'm always like,
Right.
But it's been great. So, yeah, we definitely have a lot of irons in the fire. We run a roping business too. But, so, yeah, it's been crazy. But, we have a lot of support, a lot of family, a lot of friends. And my job is super supportive of me and running for county commissioner. They're super excited about it. And so they're flexible with me on that, and so that's really nice. But
I think the management skills that you have, at least keeping up with all this shit, definitely helps.
Yeah, what is that now? Like,
and says a lot.
I know.
3 different family businesses plus your job plus county commissioner plus raising a family.
I know. It's a lot. Everybody's like, are you going to have a 3rd kid? I'm like, what do you think? I got more time?
Yeah.
Shit, I'm tired as it is. But,
Right.
I figure you only live once. And,
Yep.
somehow we manage it all, we balance it all, and it just works out. But it's really nice that Nick works at home too, so like we can take and with me being home, it's like, if something happens and my mom's sick or can't take the kids or, if we're gone doing stuff, it's nice because my grandma comes or,
right.
He works at home. The kids can go they can't train horses with him, but,
Right.
There's been like they went out and helped him with the prairie dog thing a couple days. And
So is he doing that solo?
Yeah, right now. So these first few jobs he wanted to do himself so that he
Figures it out.
knew how it worked and knew how long it would take him and knew how successful it was. And so we actually will be hiring a couple employees for that business to do. So it's not a glorious job by any means, but it's a job and, it works and you get it. Like he's been up at a couple cool ranches, up in the mountains, beautiful, seeing lots of animals, livestock.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with spending a day working up in the mountains.
Yeah, so
it's all about providing a service at the end of the day. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter what it is. Somebody's got to do the work
right.
or, provide the service. So more power to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that thinks things through and obviously wasn't going to half-ass it. So you kind of knew it was going to work out in some fashion.
He did. I was still stressed about it. But that's what I do.
Right. That's your job.
Yep. That's what I'm supposed to do. But no, it's been great. We're, busy as shit, but that's okay.
Yeah. So your oldest is 4, right? So you kind of hopefully aren't going to have to deal with her going to school in the midst of a pandemic.
Oh.
But I'm sure things will have changed from before the pandemic happened to whenever it ends, as far as school goes and their procedures and everything. But I can imagine that would be very stressful right now for all those parents.
Oh, man, I feel for them. I've said it. I don't know how people have families and don't live close to their family. I know they do it, but, I mean, it's such a blessing to live close to your family. And, nowadays I look at how many parents have to work. And, I mean, even in my situation, I've got to work too. And, if you had to homeschool your kid or if something happened and you're still trying to work full time, I mean, the stress of that, I just can't imagine some of those, your kids get older and, whatever. I don't even know what the going age is that you can leave them at home right now, but, 6th grade on or whatever, they can stay. Yeah. But
it depends on how many older siblings they have.
Yeah. And it's like,
ages.
But you've got 6, 7, 8-year-olds, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade. You can't really leave them home by themselves to do their homework while you're trying to provide. So I just don't know. I think that there's a lot of resources that had never been used before the pandemic, that Wyoming maybe was a little bit slower on, that people are going to jump on now.
Right.
Like what?
Well, I mean, for example, like my job, we've always worked from home. It's always been a work from home position. And the people I work with have all worked from their home. And so we were a little bit ahead of that as far as that wasn't an adjustment for us. We were actually helping our members to help them. How do you coach your employees from home? How do you work from home? But the reality of it is, I work for a nonprofit and the overhead costs are so dang high as far as renting buildings and utilities that go along with that and things like that. And a lot of people are going to realize after this pandemic, like, oh, wow, well, people can get their jobs done from home and it's going to save us money if we don't have to have this, giant building to pay for and things like that. So I just think that we were a little bit, Wyoming in general has been a little bit behind that as far as, it's harder our technology out here, like we were talking about earlier, the Wi-Fi and things like that.
Wyoming
it's like,
wireless.
Yeah. So, it's your options are.
Yeah. Blaine could go in on Wyoming wireless for a second. But.
Yeah, it's a little bit, but there are opportunities too. I mean, just like, the broadband down Main Street and things like that. It's like, there's opportunity there. We're a little hesitant. People aren't into that change. People aren't into, but there's opportunities. So I think that the pandemic sucks, and I think it's shitty for parents right now. I know every parent that I've talked to is like, oh, thank God my kid's going back to school. They're excited about it, and they want their kids to be in school. There are a few that didn't want their kids to go back, and I respect that as well. But I can't imagine trying to balance all of that on top of everything else as well.
I work with a guy who he's my age. He's like 25, 26 years old, has 2 kids, the oldest being 6. And so I think 6. First, she'd be going into 1st grade. And so last year, he got one out of the house a lot of the time. And he's like, man, I don't want this to sound bad, but like, thank God for school. Like it gave us a break. It gave her a break, a chance to go, be around her friends and meet people and develop a personality and all this shit. And then you go into the next year and she's supposed to be going into 1st grade. And now it's like, no, she's going to come back home. And now,
Well, and I think it's hard too. And I see it in my kids with my mom all day. And I've been telling my mom, you're just going to homeschool them. I'm just going to make you homeschool them. But I also see with my kids, there's a struggle with my oldest one right now of, like, she needs to learn to listen to other people because right now it's like, well, it's grandma and I don't want to do it,
Right.
So that instruction from outside people, I think, is good for kids, and I think it gets hard for parents. I was looking up the statistics, and I can't say exact numbers right now off the bat, but, when this pandemic hit and COVID happened and, the child abuse and spousal abuse rates went up like 37% within 34 days or something
too much time
crazy.
Together.
Because, that is the reality of kids is that, you spend a lot of time with them. And, of course, they're going to, talk back or be sassy. And parents get upset and angry and they don't know how to
But there's no release
cope.
of that tension if you can't separate yourselves throughout the day.
Right. So if you're home all the time together, I think it's tough.
Gets Western.
Right.
Yeah, they gotta expel a substantial amount of energy.
Yeah.
Or else, you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Plus, there's the whole
outcomes.
Socialization process of going to school and fitting into the hierarchy of things, and you listen to your teachers, and you learn things that you don't learn with your family. That's just the fact of it.
Well, and I think my kids, like, I'm terrified for them to go to school because I think, oh, God, they don't listen worth a shit. But then I'm like, oh, but to other people, it's probably different, if it's a new, But to me, that I'm around her all the time, I'm like, I might have to tell her 5, 6, 7 times before she listens.
I remember Mrs. Bramlett got real stern with me once when I was like 5 years old, and that set me back for at least a year.
Right.
She was beat red, just screaming at me.
And you were like,
that definitely taught me that I need to relax for about a year.
Yeah.
Pick it right back up.
But learning discipline from an outside source is probably good.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Plus,
Crazy.
you get to hang out with your friends, and they run around, and they do PE or whatever, and they go to music class if they still have that. Art class is probably pretty pretty good for kids.
Yeah.
Naps.
Naps.
Fan.
I am a big fan of naps. I keep telling my kids that, like, nope, you're going to nap because mom likes naps too.
Big fan.
Yeah. Everybody likes naps, and you will learn to like naps one day.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep hitting this.
Oh, you're fine.
Screwing it up.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of that as a kid is not wanting to be told what to do. Even though you could probably definitely use a nap, you're like, fuck that.
Uh-huh.
And just fight it.
Fight it. Fight bedtime. I remember.
That's the worst.
Yeah. Do they stay in the same bedroom?
Yeah, so they have separate bedrooms, but they prefer to stay in the same bedroom. So it actually, like,
Interesting.
it's kind of a, like, double-edged sword because sometimes I put them in there and then they won't be quiet and they won't quit touching each other and they won't quit pinching and hitting and whatever they do. And so then it's like Nick goes in there and pretty much lays down the law, like, the next time I come in here, one of you is going to the other room, you know? So it's like, at least we have that going for us. Like, you can kick one of them out, and Kaya has bunk beds. So we always start like, you're going up top. Now you're going to the other room. Like, I'm done. Done with this shit.
Yeah, I assume there'll be a time where it'll be much different.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I remember the three youngest of my family, me and Brennan and Patrick, would have to stay in the same room downstairs. And we'd just be causing a ruckus, and we could hear my dad coming down the stairs. So we had a little bit of a warning, and then we'd sprint into our beds and, like, lay down and pretend we were sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we were fooling anybody, but.
I pretty much yell from the bedroom now, like, I'm sending in your dad.
That warning shot.
Oh, man. Yeah, kids. Y'all should just have some.
No, thank you.
I just got a puppy, and I think that's enough work for me at this juncture in my life.
Puppy?
Border Collie.
Oh, lots of energy.
Lots of energy, and he
lots of
loves to
energy.
chew on everything.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's still learning. We've had him for almost a month, but
Yeah.
he's a little psycho sometimes.
It's because they have a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta run.
Take them on your runs, yeah.
Yeah, so my
When he gets a little
girlfriend's
bigger.
family was here like a week and a half ago, and her dad took him on a run, and they went 6 miles, and he came back, and his paws were
All like raw.
yeah, they were so
Oh
raw.
my God.
Poor guy.
And like when he'd wake up for the next like 3 or 4 days, was so stiff. Like he'd get out of his
Sore.
crate and he couldn't like walk or anything.
Just like, oh, man.
But that was the
That's
chillest.
what happens to me, but I don't have to run 6 miles.
Right,
We're
right.
like 6 feet. And then,
Yeah, I got to walk up, 10 stairs.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, well, you know.
Okay, so Blaine asked you at the very start,
Yeah, sorry.
what is the job of a county commissioner? What is it?
So the county commissioner does a lot. And there's 3 in this county. There's 3 county commissioners. A lot of counties across the state have 5. There's actually more with 5 than with 3, but Platte County stays to 3. Anyways, they do their main job is the budget. They do the budget for the entire county.
Oh, wow.
And so for Platte County, it's Wheatland, Chugwater, Guernsey, Glendo, Hartville. So yeah, that's a big majority of it is the budget and the finances every year. There's a lot of special districts being like, the different rural fire departments, things like that, the hospital board, things. They directly supervise like the clerks, the assessor, the treasurer, like all of those, and the fair board, and one other board. Drawing a blank, of course you asked me, but anyways, so they do all that. Road maintenance, that's another big one, road maintenance. So road and bridge, they're in charge of road and bridge, and that's where the majority of the complaints usually come from, is road maintenance across the county. Platte County has a ton of paved roads compared to a lot, as far as county roads.
Yeah.
If you go over to like Albany County, they don't have it nearly as many paved county roads as we do. And so just keeping up the maintenance on that and trying to figure out a budget to be able to maintain all of those.
Right up your alley, though.
Yeah. So, that's hindsight, when we were doing those forums and stuff, I didn't give my background a ton. We were asked a lot of questions, and I never actually said my background. And so on the last day in Glendo, my husband thought that I really needed to share my background in finance and what I've done since I went to the university all the way to now. And I had a lot of people comment, so that's why I put out that Facebook post, that stated kind of my finance and budget background from the last 10 years, 12 years. So,
yeah, you were utilizing that, and so was Jeremy. The Facebook especially.
Yeah.
But just being able to get in front of your phone camera or whatever.
Yeah.
And just talk for 5 minutes and clarify things. Yeah, I think that you guys were able to use that to your advantage, more so than the other candidates, which you didn't hear anything from.
Right.
That goes back to being able to recognize a name when you actually get in the booth to cast the ballot. So
right. And I think it's really important communication. That was one of my main stances when we talked at some of the forums and that on my flyers and stuff I sent out is like communication. I think communication is really important between the commissioners and the residents. And I don't think that should all be on the commissioners. There are 2 public meetings a month. The last 6 months or whatever that I've been going to them, I'm usually the only person from the public there. Once in a while, once in a while there is one. But there's things I think that the residents need to make an effort too. But I also think there's things the commissioners could do to make it more friendly for the residents. I mean, a lot of people have 9-to-5 jobs, so when the county commissioner meeting starts at 9 in the morning and goes till noon, like a lot of people can't do that, So looking around the state, sometimes they have one in the morning and then their second one of the month's at night, or vice versa. Would that work here? I don't know. But I think it's something that definitely we could give it a try. But, it all just goes back to communication. And so I think it's really important. And right now, during the times, it's Facebook. 5 years from now, it might be some other social media. Back in the day, it was MySpace. So, but I think that a lot of people are hesitant to that change as far as, an older generation and things like that. But the reality is that's what people are using. That's what people are doing. So you have to change with the times and you have to adapt to what your voters and your users are going to be.
And wouldn't you, at least personally, I would think that you would want to reach out and get feedback from the community versus just not hearing from anybody and just doing your job. I feel like you should want to reach out and ask for that feedback and ask for input and, hear the other side of what you or whoever believes and whatever else. I feel like that should be your duty as a civil servant, is to reach out. And
Absolutely.
if it's Facebook, it's Facebook. It doesn't really matter. But
absolutely. And, if you don't get any feedback, then you don't get any feedback. But at least you could try. And at least you can say you tried. Right now I see decisions being made about our county and about money from our county and about just choices in general that I think should include you. I think should include you, as the voter, as a resident of the county. And it's not including you. So
not to mention we're the working class.
Right.
Doesn't a lot of the budget come from tax dollars, like sales tax?
Yeah, it does. So it's cut out kind of into a pie where all the different monies come from. And so like the commissioners, I think, get what we call 12 mil. And that's kind of, the school gets, 60% or 67 mil or something. So it's a pie, and it's how much of it that each division and department in the county gets, kind of, and it has to be split up. So our budget for the county, as far as commissioners are concerned, is pretty minimal. We've always worked on a pretty minimal budget, and I think that's benefited us. I would love to see another source of revenue come to Platte County. The problem is everybody's like, okay, well, we have the power plant. Well, we need to get oil. We need to get gas. That's more of a boom and bust thing.
Yeah.
We need more of a economic development for the future, something that's not just going to go through that boom and bust cycle like you see over in Douglas or you see in Gillette, But I think that there are a lot of decisions that should include include the working class and the mentality of the Platte County younger generation
Definitely
kills me.
Although looking back on it, it's a decent place to raise a family, but ultimately you should want more for your kids than what you had. And
right.
it seems to me like this specific town in this specific county has been avoiding progression and change
for a long time,
as long as I've been alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, I'm an agricultural background and I have businesses that deal with agriculture. So, you know, I don't want to take away from the ag, but, you know, like you were saying, goes back to taxes. Ag taxes are very low. We have a lot of ag land here. I don't think that we need to raise ag taxes. That's not at all what I'm saying. But when you're looking at the money, the revenue that you're getting from your county, and you've got a lot of ag land and your taxes are low on that kind of stuff, you're not really getting much revenue. So we need to bring in other sources that will be at that higher level, you know, to be able to kind of make up that difference. And the younger generation in this county, this election has been one of the better years that I've seen. And I don't know what the statistic is on voters from, say, 18 to 29, but so many people in the younger generation and your guys' age, my brother's age, don't vote because they don't feel like their voice matters. They don't feel like their one vote matters.
And they also,
so
to be fair, I don't think they give a shit enough to do it. And
it's an inconvenience to leave your job and take 20 minutes to drive to the voting the voting place.
Well, and
but it matters. Yeah. That's the people that we need because that's where we're going to drive our community towards, you know.
And if you look at the margins, what do we say? Like close to 2,500 people showed out to vote. And think there's probably at least 500 people in that age group that you were talking about that didn't show up to vote. And that's enough to be able to sway it to even if all those people were to have voted, you know, the other way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I would love to see growth, and I would love to see more people our age come back to Wheatland. But I don't right now. There's nothing for them right now. You know, so it's hard. But I definitely think it's important that people get out there and vote. I mean, it wasn't like when I was 18, I wasn't really into politics either, and I wasn't really following it that close. But I do think it's really important, and I think that we need to get younger people more involved in the community and doing things like, you know, even if it's not county commissioner, serving on a board in the county, or just getting your foot in the door to get that voice of, you know, out there.
So were you involved with student government in high school?
Was.
What about in college? ASU Dub?
No, I wasn't.
I was just.
Were you?
No, I wasn't at all in any of it. But I've always kind of been interested in politics as an observer. I mean, that's what I majored in college and everything. And so, like, I think of it more as, like, voter like, I think about the voter and tendencies between voters more so than I, like, look at the policies. And I like to analyze that more. And I kind of don't really hold a stake in it from that standpoint, just because it's something that really fascinates me more so than it's like, oh, I like feel this way because it affects me personally. It's like watching a game kind of to me. But I still went out to vote and I paid attention to the issues because I think now more so than any time in our history, maybe besides 2016, like on a national level, politics are really kind of in your face right now. It's what grabs the headlines and it's what we're shown by the media. So like everyone knows more or less kind of what's going on from afar, even if they aren't actively seeking out any information. I mean, it's hard to miss some of this stuff that's going on.
It's there.
And it's hard to get any sort of accurate information.
That's why I don't watch the news. Because you can find whatever you want to find, you know? And so I've decided, one, I don't have time. But two, my anxiety and my stress, it's not worth it. I mean, literally, it's not. Like, I turn it on, and then 1 minute I'm stressed about, like, gosh, COVID's so blown out of proportion, this bullshit. And then 1 second I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to take my kids to the store because of COVID. You
Yeah.
know, it's because like I'm watching the news and everything's so back and forth. And finally I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I got to do my own mind. I
Mhm.
got to do my own thing. Like
And
all this other
ultimately,
shit's got to go.
Nothing around you is changing.
Right.
No, I mean, nothing around you is really changing. You're just getting influenced at the whim of whoever's on.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
It's-
exactly why I chose not to watch it.
Mhm.
And I tell people too when they're like, man, how do you kind of stay so? I'm like, shut off the news.
Mhm.
Shut it off for a while. Even if it's Facebook is your only source of news, shut it off for a while. You know, find who you are.
Mhm.
Be you. You know, because you can't be, you know, healthy as a person when you're stressed out about that other
Right,
shit.
right.
So
I think once you can accept it as a parody, as far as like the three major news corporations being CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, once you can take that as a parody, you can kind of step back and then understand why Facebook is so psychotic.
right.
Like if you watch that much of that shit, no wonder you're
Right.
all up in everybody's posts, ranting and
Yeah.
raving about shit you know nothing about.
uh-huh.
No wonder.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, the
you just
whole
get trapped in a cycle.
right.
everyone behind a keyboard, the whole concept of having an argument with someone in paragraph chunk form in a comment section just blows my mind. And you'll see threads of
Oh,
literally hundreds, and it's just
Yeah.
two people going back and forth.
Who has time
and-
for that shit?
Right. Like I just picture these people like furiously like
I know.
typing away at their phones or whatever they're doing,
Minimal fact, all character
Yep.
attack.
letting it go.
Yeah.
And just spewing some nasty insults at people that like there's no way you're saying that to someone that you're face to face with, because if you said that to him, you get slapped
Right.
in the face.
We'd see the gunman
Right,
shooting at
right.
people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Crazy
a crazy
times.
world. It is.
Did you feel like you had an adequate chance? I mean, you obviously won, but do you feel like you had an adequate opportunity to kind of expand on what you wanted to accomplish and anything like that? Because I don't know how they really, I know you said forums and then obviously you're spreading your stuff on
Yeah.
Facebook, but
You know, they did the Republican forums, and it wasn't that I didn't like them. I didn't like the questions. So the forums to me were more directed at a personal level. How do you feel at a personal level? The questions, and not so much at a towards this job level. So to me, that was swaying the voters. You're not voting at how you think this person's going to do at a job. You're voting
You're
on
casting
yeah.
personalities against each other.
Yeah. So like, you know, the two questions that they asked us the same questions at every town that we went to, because we did Wheatland, we did Guernsey, we did Chugwater, we did Glendo. And they asked the same questions so that everybody would kind of get the same answers in every county from us, or every town in the county from us. The ones that really stuck out to me were, what's your stance on legalizing marijuana in the state of Wyoming?
it's never going to happen, so why does it matter?
My theory is that is not a county commissioner issue.
No.
It's not.
So to me, it's like, you know, in Wheatland, I was unprepared. We didn't know what the questions were going to be ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
They just
Oh,
and
so
then
they let off in Wheatland, huh?
yeah, of course,
You'd
which
think-
is so shitty.
That doesn't make any
They
sense.
should have did Wheatland last,
Should have
because
started
that
in
was
Hartville.
that was the most people was Wheatland, and so it was like, yeah,
That's blowing my mind. That's
yeah. So they ask these questions, and then you have 2 minutes to answer, and then Sandy would have 2 minutes to answer, and then we could do a 1 minute rebuttal.
It's like playing the playoffs in reverse.
Yeah. So to me, I'm
Almost
like, wait a minute, this isn't a county commissioner issue. Her stance was that it was, which is fine. She has her own opinion.
Do
My
you remember
stance,
why she said that?
she says that it affects us because of the money in the jail and the cops
God.
asked us. And to me, we spend more time, money, and effort trying to catch piddly little misdemeanors than we would if we just legalized it across the state. Do I think Wyoming is ready for it at this time? Probably not. Do I think that we're probably going to be there in the next 10 years at the way the elections have been going? I mean, across the board right now, the way the state elections went, there's so much change happening in the House and in the Senate. And do I think in the next 10 years it'll happen? Probably.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a hot take.
Colorado,
Yeah.
Montana, Idaho. I mean, 3 of our bordering states.
Montana's a better example,
Have
I think, than
legalized.
the other two.
Well,
Yeah.
but at the heart of those places' economies in their rural areas, it's agriculture.
Right.
And all of Wyoming is rural, but
But those decisions
people
are made
grow
in the
things
cities.
here.
Like those
Yeah.
decisions are made in Coeur d'Alene, Boise,
Sure,
and
sure.
then
Right.
adopted by the rest of the state.
But now you have people who, you know, maybe were on their last leg raising hay, and maybe they can pivot
Right.
into a potential future farming endeavor into growing marijuana, or, you know, even the tax revenue speaks for itself in those
Right.
places.
I mean, I looked at the statistics before I spoke at the other forums, and so that I would just be more knowledgeable on that
Mhm.
stuff. The tax in those states ends up being 35%. So it goes 15% from grower to shop,
Distributor.
dealer, yeah,
Yeah.
distributor, and then 20%
Dealer.
from I don't know what to call
That's
it, and then 20% from the distributor to the purchaser.
Right.
So 35%. We're talking Wyoming's in a $775 million shortfall in revenue, and in my opinion, we're so like set in our ways.
Because there's too much old money here. That's why Wyoming's stuck in its ways.
There's a lot of old land, old money. That's why we need the younger generation to move back to Platte County. Specifically, I'm talking about Platte County, but in general,
Mhm,
stay in the
mhm.
state. You know, I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day. UW has that medicine program, their doctor program, you know, and I don't remember what it's called, WAM or
Mhm.
whatever. Where,
The whammy.
Wham.
yeah, and
Whammy.
where they go off and go to Washington, and you know they do a
Right.
portion of it here and stuff. But you know, we're training all those people to have all these great life skills, but we have nothing for them to stay here.
When they
So
come
we're
to-
training
yeah.
them to go somewhere else.
Right,
You know,
because they'll go off and do their residency in Washington or wherever and never come back.
right. So how do you change that? I don't know. You know, but I think that definitely I'm glad to see more of you guys coming back. I'm glad to see more of the younger generation being active in our community. And I think that that's really important. I think that that'll help. You know, like I said earlier, Wyoming's in a revenue shortfall, a huge one. And what are we going to do to change that? You know, we talked about on some of my conference calls today, what does the Wyoming we want look like?
Yeah, I've seen you
talking
about that.
Yeah,
That's
and I
interesting.
thought that was really great. And I like to hear people around the state talk about that, you know, because what does it look like? We think we know what we want, but nobody's doing anything to move that direction.
Right.
Mhm.
Everybody's so scared of that change and scared of failure, I think. I mean, being scared of failure is just part of life.
Mhm.
But you know, we've got to. I really think that we need to attract the younger generation here. We need to get them active in the community, and we need to get them to voice their opinions. That goes back to communication. I think that communication has been so poor across the board that the younger generation just feels like they're not a part of the community here. That they feel like their voice doesn't matter, even if they did voice it. But I don't like that stigma. I want everyone's opinion, whether you're 60, 70, or whether you're 18 or 25. You know, it does matter. And so I think that some people in this community have some really good ideas, and I think they've been shot down once, and so they don't want to voice those opinions again. You know, so.
And where do you even have a platform to express those ideas unless you want to show up to the city hall meeting and like you said, most of the time at the commissioners' meetings, you were the only person there.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm sure you'll find out that the majority of your meetings, no one's going to come to.
Yeah.
And it's open to the public, but is that necessarily like advertised? Do most young people know that? Probably not.
not.
I didn't know it until you were talking about it. So
Right. Yeah.
I actually know about like city council meetings, and those
Yeah.
were always fun to attend.
Yeah.
The only time we attended those was as Lobos.
And for me, you know, I don't get a vote on the town council. I don't get a vote on the mayor because I live in the county, much like your parents and you guys. And so I'd like to see, I mean, and that's obviously not my decision, and that's a future thing, but I would like to see some of that change too, because the things that happen in the town affect me too.
Mhm.
You know, I shop here. I drive the roads every day. I pay taxes here.
You shop here? Where? Where do you shop here?
Baumgars, man.
Hey, I try to shop local when I can. I do.
Right.
I do.
Love to if you could.
Come buy your cars locally.
Yeah, I do. I do.
You do.
So yeah, you know, I mean, I do try to shop local when I can, but it is tough. You know, the markups are extremely higher, of course. So when you are looking like you got to buy a bunch of stuff for a project, you know, cost-wise, yeah, people drive to Cheyenne or Casper or wherever because cost-wise, you're going to save.
I don't know that people would, though, if it were available. I mean, even if you were talking spending, you know, whatever that extra money is to shop locally, if any of that shit was available, I don't think people would. I think people would gladly pay a little bit more not to drive an hour down there.
I damn
you know
sure would.
So it doesn't make any sense to me other than old people, old money, old ways.
Right.
Until someone else shows up to vote. And
until it's 2020 and you have, what do we have, like 4 or 5 hardware stores, but we don't have a home goods store?
Yeah.
Well, a full-scale, like, home goods store.
Yeah. And to be honest, yesterday we had to get some electrical wire and stuff to run for our air conditioning. Nick went to literally every hardware store in town and ended up having to drive to Cheyenne to Lowe's.
Oh, my God.
And so, you know, I just think they don't have, we struggle getting the stuff that people need, but how do you know what people need? I mean, it's like a double-edged sword. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is for that, but I definitely think that, you know, I do struggle going into a store and they're like, well, we can order it for you. Well, I can order it too.
Yeah.
You know, I know what Amazon is, or, you know, but I do try to shop local, and I try to
did that
be
the
loyal.
last time I had to get a new phone. Like, okay, yeah, I could just order it from my couch, but I am a part of a small business in this community. I want to support other small businesses, and yeah, it's like makes it way more inconvenient. Yeah,
it is. It is.
Yeah, especially at that place. It smells like formaldehyde in there, but I don't know what the smell is in that store, but it gets me. Have you been in this?
I have been in there.
Do you know the smell?
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
It's gross. It smells like there's dead bodies in there, but hey.
Could be.
I was just saying, don't hold it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
A lot of stores here smell like that. I don't know.
That's Wheatland.
Yeah.
So,
great.
Let's say that some young people wanted to get involved, wanted to put forth some ideas. How do they get a hold of you? Where's an open forum to discuss with Kayla Mantle what they would like the county commissioner to do?
You know, I'm an open book, basically. So I have a personal Facebook page. You're more than welcome to get on there and find me. Mantle, L-E, M-A-N-T-L-E.
Like Mickey.
Yes. And I have an Instagram, same on there, Kayla Mantle, and Snapchat, if you choose to Snapchat me.
Are you going to keep that
I am.
Facebook page?
Yeah, I am. I'm probably going to change it. So I also have my commissioner page. I'm going to change it right now. It's like Vote Kayla, Kayla Mantle for county commissioner. After the general election, when hopefully I'm elected officially and get sworn in January 4th, I will change the name of that page to Kayla Mantle, Platte County Commissioner. And anybody is more than welcome to message me on there as well. My email is kayla.mantle@outlook.com. They can email me. They can call or text me. I have my phone all the time, 307-331-0088.
Uh-oh.
I know.
281
Open book.
330
Yeah,
So
right?
if you want to get a hold of your representatives,
2675-309.
She just put her number out into the interwebs.
I did. But, you know, I think that it's important for communication. And so that was part of my whole thing here is transparency. So my cell phone, it rings right to me. You will talk to me, and I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. If I don't answer right away, leave me a message or shoot me a text or Facebook me or any of the above, whatever you feel like. I've got it. I'll send me a letter. I will write you a letter back.
Strongly worded.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say thank you because everybody my age, including myself, loves to bitch about everything going on, or the lack thereof, anything going on, and doesn't do a damn thing about it. And seems to me like you're walking the walk. So I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody my age, whether they give a shit or not.
Well,
But
thank you.
I think it
Thank you
means a
guys
lot.
for having me.
Yeah.
That's why people ask why I decided to run, and I pretty much said I can't sit at home and bitch about it if I'm not willing to do anything about it.
Sure.
So, I'm here. I want to make a difference. I want to hear your guys' voice, even if I can't get something approved or passed, or it doesn't work. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. So, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Of course.
Go
Appreciate it.
Pokes.
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.